Hello, welcome to another edition of Brick, Mortar, and Smoke. This time around we have something quite a bit different. We have a chat with Laurel Tilley, who is the national brand ambassador for Macanudo cigars. I am smoking the Macanudo Inspirado red label, and I am accompanying it with Wild Buck whiskey from Weeki Wachee, Florida, which is fantastic. So far, this cigar is amazing. It's got a boutique essence to it that you usually don't find in the larger brands. Very rustic flavor, a lot of earthy tones to it. I love it. So before we get into, and actually in the beginning and then again in the middle, I'll review a couple of the cigars that we are discussing with Laurel, okay? First one's Macanudo Red Inspirado, then after a while I'm gonna smoke the black, and I'll do that also with the Wild Buck whiskey. So without further ado, let's have a chat with Laurel Tilley, national brand ambassador of Macanudo cigars. You, from the first episode ever in my new studio, you are watching Brick, Mortar, and Smoke. Remember to subscribe and like.
Hi, I'm Laurel Tilley, the National Brand Ambassador for Macanudo. And I wanted to take a little time today to talk about the brand and why Macanudo is a cigar that you should be paying attention to. So, Macanudo has been around in the industry for quite some time. In fact, it was born in the year 1868, originally under the Punch name. It was actually a line of Punch. But then when Cuban tobacco became illegal in certain parts of the world, the production was actually moved to Jamaica and became its own brand, its own entity, and that's how Macanudo was born. In 1968, the Colemans acquired Macanudo, and we brought it to the States in 1971. So we celebrated our 50th anniversary back in 2018 of our acquisition, and if we really want to keep the party rolling, we can celebrate again next year in 2021 for our 50th anniversary in the United States. But Macanudo is incredible because it is constantly evolving. Typically when people hear the name, they find it to be synonymous with our cafe series, so our Court, Hyde Park, Portofino. And those cigars are still very, very prevalent in the market today. However, Macanudo as a brand is ever changing. In the last 4 years, we have introduced our Inspirado series. So the Inspirado series actually originated in our European market, and it all started with the Inspirado Orange, which is my personal favorite. So being blended originally for our European market, it needed to use different tobaccos, more complex blending, and literally needs to be able to hold its own on a shelf next to Cubans, and that it did. So in 2016, 2 years post-release in Europe, we brought it to the United States and have since rounded out the line with the Inspirado White and the Black, which came out in 2017. The Inspirado Red, which came out in 2018. We had a limited release in 2019, and then in August of this year, we will be releasing the Inspirado Green, which will be another full-run Inspirado line, which I personally am very, very excited about. So let's talk a little bit about the Inspirado line and how it sets itself apart from our Macanudo Core series. So Inspirado as a whole, we're using more unique tobacco, sourcing tobacco from different parts of the world. So if we look at the orange specifically, it's got that very Cuban-esque blending style to it, albeit primarily Honduran tobacco. So we're using a Honduran Osa for the wrapper. Osa is an abbreviation for Elancho San Agustin, so it's like a Honduran Habano. You get a little bit of sweetness, a little bit of citrus, a little bit of spice. It's incredibly complex, but also very, very balanced. And our Inspirado Red, we're using a Habano that we grow in Ecuador. We're using 12, 10, and 5-year age tobacco coming from Jamastran, coming from Esteli, coming from Ometepe. So We're sourcing tobaccos that we may not have otherwise used in our core lines. The green, which is coming out in August, I am particularly excited about. We're using Brazilian Arapiraca for the wrapper, and it's the first time that we're able to use Arapiraca for Macanudo. Some of our other brands like CAO have used it in the past, and we use a very minimal amount of Brazilian tobacco in any of our other Macanudo lines. So it's very inspiring to see a brand that's so iconic and so rooted in the industry as ever changing and constantly evolving to keep up with market trends. So our Macanudo core line is very, very important. Our Macanudo Cafe series is still one of our best-selling cigars, but our Inspirato line is kind of that response to the market that wants something that's a little bit more boutique, a little bit more unique, a little bit more complex. And in my opinion, we have delivered incredibly well with the Inspirato series. If we're looking at the Inspirato White, for example, in comparison to our Macanudo Cafe series. Our Macanudo Cafe, we are using a Connecticut shade wrapper that we are growing domestically in the Connecticut River Valley. Whereas the Inspirato White, we are still using a Connecticut shade, but it is being grown in Ecuador in what I affectionately like to call a mountain bowl. So if we're looking at Connecticut shade tobacco, in Central America, we're using cheesecloth to filter the sunlight, because when we talk about Connecticut shade, it literally means that it's tobacco grown in indirect sunlight. Whereas Connecticut shade grown domestically, we are using a very thin sheet of plastic. But where the Connecticut shade in Ecuador is being grown in this very mountainous region, we get about 300 days of natural cloud coverage a year, so Mother Nature does the job for us. But by sourcing tobacco from this particular region in Ecuador, it is aiding in the depth, the spice, the complexity, the earthiness, just this incredible balance of all of these flavors working together. So Macanudo is it's incredible to see the evolution of something so deeply rooted in the cigar industry and being able to come up with new, fun, exciting blends. And I personally am honored to be able to work on a brand as prolific and as innovative as Macanudo, especially right now. I'm smoking the Inspirato Black in particular, and so this is going to be a little bit more medium bodied. We're using a Connecticut broadleaf that we grow domestically, and it's actually coming from the same field as our Partagas Black wrapper, but this is just another incredible example of what the line has to offer.
This is really a treat. It's dark, it's got roasty elements to it, it's sweet, it's got cocoa, hint of nougat to it, and a little bit of spiciness. A fantastic cigar. You get a chance, you gotta get your hands on one of these.
It's smooth, it's rich, it's got some cocoa notes, some coffee notes, and it's still a very approachable cigar. It's got a wonderful, oily Connecticut broadleaf Maduro wrapper, but it's still only medium bodied. So it's definitely a brand, if you have not looked at it in the last even 5 years, definitely time to revisit it, because I promise you there is something out there for everybody. I also just want to take this opportunity to say thank you to Cigar Journal and Light 'em Up Lounge. This is going to be an incredible interview, and I'm so honored to be invited to the show. I also want to give a shout out to all of the brick and mortar stores who have been doing everything they can to continue to get their product out to customers during this pandemic situation. Without brick and mortars, where would we be? Where can we go hang out with our friends, have conversations about anything, and light up a cigar and just have an incredible night enjoying a common product? So I live in Milwaukee. I want to give a shout out to my favorite shops in the area. We've got Yulee Tobacco Company, which is where I worked originally before starting with General. We've got Havana Lounge in West Dallas, Metro Cigars in Germantown and Brookfield, and of course, Lake Country Cigars out in Delafield. All fantastic people, all fantastic lounges. If you ever get out to the Wisconsin area and you're looking for a wonderful cigar lounge, please let me know. Look forward to seeing you all in the interview, and stay safe, stay smoky. Talk to you later.